Well, well, well. Hello, everyone! We made it! Hold on, let's get some stuff squared away. Let's get me down here in my little box. Woo! Now, there's some stuff happening here. Gotta kind of keep you in the loop. Man, I'm so tiny. Look how tiny I am. Hello. All right, so here's the deal. I got a new stream setup. What does that mean? It means I need you to tell me if my music's too loud, if my microphone's not loud enough. I need you to tell me if my stream is stopping and skipping or whatever the case may be. So I'm leaning on you guys for that. And then hopefully, if I've done everything right, you and I should be talking like real time. I see, so we got some cropping, we got some stuff. We're gonna figure it all out. Luckily, a lot of this stuff is pretty easy. The live stream. Crop this bad boy, maybe make me a little bigger. Wow. What do you guys think of the new the stream overlay? A little different. Looks neat. I appreciate that. I got this off of Etsy of all places. Turns out Etsy does some like live stream stuff. And I thought this was kind of the vibe I was going for, right? I don't know. There's not really that many like writing focused live stream setups. So like not a lot to choose from. Let's bring ourselves down a little bit. All right, guys, I am so excited. Here's the thing. You know, sometimes you have like a story idea and you're like, I am like so excited to go write, so excited to start doing something. When you have that motivation, when you start doing that kind of writing, those are great moments. I have been so inspired to write for the past week because I'm so excited for Novella November, but I've made myself wait. I have not planned a single thing for my story besides what's happening in the dome up here, because I want to do it all with you guys. And you know what? We don't need to. Hold on. Let's go up here. Oh wow! That text does not work on here for the chat. Wow. I'll handle all of that some other time. I gotta say, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of being able to talk to you guys in real time. That's a big change. Write in white ink. Yes. I'm dead. All right, so I want to thank everyone for being here. Novella November kicking off. This is like a big party, and I'm here for it. And we have a lot to do. But this week, up until Friday, when Novella November really kicks off, this week is all about like chilling, brainstorming, having a good time, lo-fi music in the background, and then us just doing it, just doing the thing. I am also very excited. Just in case there's people here who are not part of the Discord link in the description, come hang out. We have a lot of fun. There. I got a couple tricks up my sleeve throughout this month. So the more you tune in, the more you'll be able to see all these little plans I have. I want to make this as fun and engaging as it can be. Because like, yeah, you could go write by yourself, and I hope you do throughout the month of November. You could go write by yourself and have a great time and put on the music that you want, and I highly recommend that you do that. But I want to give you a reason to tune into the live stream and to guarantee that you get some writing done. That's important. Just tuning in every day, not even here, sorry, let me just say mentally tuning into your own story. Just doing that a little bit every day, and you're gonna make it. Let's talk some best practices for Novella November. Let me know in the chat. I know we have some people who've done these sort of writing sprints before. Of course, the one that I think we all know of is the National Novel Writing Month. This is unaffiliated for that. If you've done things like this before and you have any recommendations or tips for all of the other writers who are going to be trying this out, maybe for the first time, post them in the chats. I have some tips for you, but I'm also a newbie at this. I haven't done this kind of thing before either. So just like how I'm trying to keep you accountable, you keeping me accountable. That's pretty awesome. A couple tips here. Should you write every single day on your story? If you can, if you're excited to do so, then do it. But do not beat yourself up if you miss a day or 2 days. Life happens. Some family stuff comes up. You can't write. That's okay. We are all about making the progress that we can make this month. That's what we're doing. Now, I call this Novella November. First off, it's just kind of catchy. Novel November doesn't really quite fly, in my opinion. I am going to be starting and finishing, hopefully, a novella. I'm shooting for 50, 60, 70,000 words as kind of my target. If you have a story that you are currently working on, that you really are passionate about, that you really want to make progress in, do it. Novel member. That's right. 69 says novel member. Doesn't quite flow off the tongue either, but the spirit is there. If you are writing a story and you're, 20,000 words in and you're really passionate about it and you want to keep writing it, keep writing it. You don't need to cut something out or start something over. Margot says, my best advice is to make sure your goal is attainable based on how many days you'll realistically be writing in your daily capacity. You guys know, if you've written with me before, if you've seen in the Discord, I personally write really fast. I can probably get like 1,000 words an hour when it comes to writing. So my goal may be kind of high compared to maybe something that you would want to shoot for. Yeah, definitely plan your journey based on you and your skills. Someone says, I'm planning on doing 1,000 a day. If I cap out at $7.50 an hour, hey, 69. You're gonna need a nickname. I cannot pronounce this enough. I have to turn, my brain can't double thread. Like I can't be doing two things at the same time when I say your name. But how do you shorten it? How do you shorten it? 69. 20,000 words for a novella, great goal. Great goal. And here's the thing, if you go over your 20,000s, great, good job. You did it. Hit your goal, set something low. You can overwrite, you can choose to underwrite. Don't beat yourself up about it. This is meant to be a journey that we're all in here together. This is not exercise. This is not you pushing yourself to the limit every single day. Just getting out there and writing is enough. Coral Sand says, I love writing sprints. I write the most during them. I think a lot of people here in the chat will find that to be the case when we have dedicated time like this to do some writing. And for those who don't know, Coral Sands themselves has their own writing quest stream that if you really need some sprints, maybe I'm not here, maybe I'm not doing a live stream, and you still feel like you enjoy this environment, you can always go over to their live stream. I'll be posting a link of it in the Discord. I don't know if Coral Sands already has or not, but I bet we can find a link in there. And if it's not in there, Coral, please share it in there. That would be awesome. What I want to provide for you, here's the big thing. Before we actually get into the planning, what I want to do for you, the big value that I feel like I can bring is one, going to be giving you some dedicated time to do like a writing sprint. Number two, big one, is I want to give you an avenue that as you're writing, if you encounter a brick wall, if you have a question you can't figure out the answer to, if you get stuck, I want you in real time to be able to say, hey, Carson, I can't figure out what to do next. Or I feel like my characters aren't coming alive right now. or I feel like this scene is boring. And on stream, I want to be able to tell you, here's what I think. And also everyone in chat wants to chime in and say, hey, this sounds like maybe what you need to do is restructure the scene, or your characters are going to come alive in the edit, or whatever the case may be. That's the big value I want to bring to this, is a place for you to be able to ask questions, to get answers, to share your progress, share your journey. That's why we have this whole Discord thing. You know it all. You know what I'm about. You know what I'm about. All right. Everyone feeling good so far about sort of kind of what to expect from the live streams, and are there any questions or how to best use the live stream or the Discord? How's the music sounding? Is the music too loud, too quiet, just right? Let me know. This is all royalty-free lo-fi music. I will have them credited in future descriptions. I was running a little late, which is why it's not in there right now. But yeah, we got about 20 minutes of lo-fi music on loop. Hopefully stays fresh. Yeah, we have a little bit of lo-fi in the background. A little bit of lo-fi. Ted says, I don't even have an idea. That is okay, Ted. That is okay. Because that's what these live streams right now are for. And you know what? You can ask things in the Discord if you have any questions about, like, maybe you have a tidbit of an idea. A little teeny tiny tidbit. And you want to bounce it around the room, kind of see how people are feeling about it. That's what this is for. I'm going to share with you how I got my idea for my story, what I'm planning on doing or planning. That makes sense. And then also the tools that I'm going to be using. Jeremiah says, I've been planning my novella for about a week now. Perfect. Perfect. Come November 1st, and you can start before November 1st. There's no Novella November police around here. The better prepared you are going into Novella November, hey, you know what? The more confident you're going to be. Here is the thing. You know, Ted says, I don't really have an idea yet. Ted, that doesn't mean anything yet. Doesn't mean anything. Inspiration can strike any second. Hey, we got Liz, Ari Holding, let's go! We have author R.E. Holding in the chat. Hello, Liz. Here's the thing about planning your novella. First off, in the chat, I want you to let me know. Are you a planner or a pantser? The age-old question. Are you a planner or a pantser? Let me know, because you're probably gonna say, I'm in between. I'm like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Oh, someone's gonna come here. Coral Sands is gonna say, bam! I'm a pantser all the way. We got, oh, hey, yeah, we got some planners in here, a bit of both. So here's the deal. When it comes to planning versus pantsing, in case anyone doesn't really know what we're talking about, right? Planning, you like to have all of your chapters organized and planned out and ready. You've tracked all the different character journeys and plot arcs. And pantser, you have an idea of your novel, you have an idea of your novel, and you're going into it to discover the story. You may decide, you know what, here's what I say. You may decide that you're one or the other, and you know what? Life is gonna come at you fast. For everything else, there's MasterCard, and you're gonna figure it out that, hey, maybe you think you're a planner, and this month you're gonna find out you're really a pantser. You may also decide that you think you're one or the other, and it's gonna change based on the story that you wanna tell and how you understand that story. A lot of us probably have babies, these stories that we've held on to for so long that we promise we're gonna write one day. And you know what? I bet when it comes to that story, you're gonna be a planner because you've had that story idea for so long. Novella November, well, you just kind of have this inkling of an idea. All of a sudden, you're a pantser, baby. You're a pantser. Pantser pretty much all the way. So, Hey, we got a describer. Hey, look at this. Jeff, welcome to the party. This is the very first subscriber alert ever on the live stream. Jeff, wear that badge with honor. Jeff says he's a planner. I think I've come around to the idea that I can change based on the story and my understanding of the story, right? That's kind of like how my brain is kind of wrapping around the idea of planner versus pantser. It's like, it's almost situational. Yeah, did anyone see Clippy pop up? If you didn't see Clippy, someone else will have to subscribe so we can see Clippy. Oh my God. Oh my God, he's a live streamer at heart. Overplanner. Let me ask you guys this. Is it possible to be an overplanner when it comes to a novel? Say, Therial says yes. Yes, it is possible to be an overplanner. What do you think what are the symptoms of an overplanner? Lilith says not at all. Impossible to be an overplanner. What's a symptom of being an overplanner? When do you sort of tip the scales of someone who plans to overplan? Ferruccio says when you plan so much you never write anything. When you plan but never start. Oh my God, if someone would just make a video about how to stop planning and start writing. Oh my gosh, that video would be a hit. I've overplanned myself and never gotten any manuscript words in. I think overplanning, definitely a thing. But I think sometimes overplanning is misunderstood. You ready for this? Is misunderstood for a lack of confidence in your writing. Lack of confidence in your writing. Here's the deal. It's easy to plan. We're going to do it this week and we're going to have a freaking ball doing it. The thing is, it's easy to plan. It's easy to change your mind about planning. A lot harder to start writing. And if you feel like maybe you didn't do something right or you want to change something, a lot harder to change your writing. So a lot of people, I think, when they're not fully confident, and I'm not saying that about anyone in the chat here, not to target any overplanners, but I feel like a lot of it comes down to being like, I'm having a lot of fun. My story has infinite potential when I'm just planning it all out. But when you start putting words on the page, that potential, gulp, right, Lilith? That potential comes down and now it's all about your skill. That's scary. That's scary. Phantom says, sometimes I intentionally overplan just to get some stories out of my head. Not a bad idea. And you're probably honing your ability to plan, at least to plan the important things. I was writing a script today on world building. So I had Brandon Sanderson's writing course up. So that kind of inspired me today to get planning for my novel. But again, I did not. But yeah, if anyone doesn't know about this, Brandon Sanderson has a full college course on creative writing, science fiction, and fantasy, kind of specifically, for free on YouTube. You can check that out. All right, let me talk about what's on my screen right here. I have such a good time just hanging out with you guys. Let me talk about what's on my screen. I write. Does anyone know what tool I have? What writing tool I might have up on my screen right now? I write with a program called, waiting for anyone to post it in the chat, Scrivener, not Novelpad, not this time. Scriv, the old Scrivener. See, Liz knows. The old Scrivener. So that's what I use. I'm telling you right now, and if I could zoom in and still be able to see the chat over here, oh, I would do it. You know what? This is worth it. I'm going to go to a scene called Carson Big. Come here. And then we're going to go to Carson Big Zoom. It does not matter the tool that you write with. It matters that you write. Every single thing is just quality of life features. You can write everything in Google Docs. You could write everything for Novella November in Notepad+. Plus, is that what it's called? In Notepad, if you're a maniac. Just turn word wrap on you, hooligan. You can write in whatever you want. I use Scrivener, and I'll show you why. And I guess I'll have some affiliate links posted around in case you're interested. Google Docs, Team Google Docs and chats. OG Notepad is lit. Google Google Doc team. Oh my gosh, I can't even, those words all merge together. All right, let me tell you about Scrivener. When you first open up Scrivener, you got a bunch of templates. These can be things that are pre-configured, like maybe you could have all of your different chapters. Let's say you follow something like Save the Cat as like a plot framework. You could have all those chapters pre-made. Every time you open up a new story, it pops up, yada, yada, yada. Here's the thing. I'm not afraid of nothing. I'm going in with just a blank novel template. So one day, I think I do want to make a Scrivener template and share it with everyone. Let's call this Novella November. Make a new folder. What if you never save the cat? Don't think about it, buddy. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Google Docs. Here's the good thing about, you know what? One thing Scrivener can't compete with when it comes to Google Docs is sharing your doc and being able to get comments back on it. Something to be said for the Google Doc crew. Ted, hey, Ted's writing with a typewriter. Hey, team typewriter, I got you in the background right over here. That's a real typewriter. It's an Underwood. Found it at a garage sale. Did a little clean fixing up. New ink ribbon in that bad boy. I'm over here clacking, writing whole stories. All right, let's go full screen with this guy. Whatever tool you are writing with. Random writer, welcome. A free write, wow. Free write, that's a luxury item, Liz. I've reached out to free write to be like, hello, I am a meager little content creator. I would love to do a video on your free write. I have the OG, oh my God, I wonder if I should even go pull this up. Let me show you this. Hold on. You guys might like this. Hold on, I'll be right back. I'm back. I am using Scrivener. All right, let's see if I can go Carson Big. Before there was the free write. There was the Neo by Alpha Smart. This thing is like a keyboard and the crappiest little screen you could ever have. It holds 3 stories. You have to use an old USB. Oh my God. I don't even know if you can see this. You have to use like a micro USB cable to get this thing off. They used to use this in like elementary and middle school classes where the teacher would be like, do a writing thing up on, here's a writing prompt. And you were over here tapping at the keyboard, typing on here. Look, mine's even got a number. I don't know if you can see this. Number 15, baby. Margot, you have one too? Wow. Alpha Smart gang, chime in. Let's go. I used to travel for work. And one of the things I ended up doing at one point was like, hey, it would be nice to not rely on like a laptop battery, not get distracted with X, Y, and Z. So I picked this thing up off of eBay. And you know what? I got 3 stories, both over like 20,000 words on here that are lost to time. Oh, and best part, look, it's got a screw in so I can't take it off. This bad boy runs on AA batteries. That's, oh, miss those days. All right, back to the good stuff. Oh, Ted used to use the alphas with their students. That's cool. That's cool. I use a typewriter, now we use pen and paper. Hey, pretty interesting. I have recently been exploring the idea of dictating stories. Video on that coming up in the future. I'll show you. All right, on screen, I have Scrivener. For those who don't know what Scrivener is, haven't done this before, first time seeing Scrivener, it is a creative writing tool, nothing super fancy about it. The biggest thing is basically a glorified word editor and file organizer. That's it. Nothing fancy about it. I mean, if you look over here on the left side, we have folders that expand. I know this might be a little tiny, might have to go full screen. I'll end up figuring out how to do the right size for our screen stuff. But basically a glorified folder system. The big thing that Scrivener is like really fantastic at is whenever you're done with your story. It has a way to compile your story into different size books, into EPUB files for Kindle, into PDF if you just want to very quickly share it with someone. Scrivener is really good at that and formatting it to make it look how you want. But otherwise, you could do everything I'm about to do in Google Docs. You do everything I'm about to do in Microsoft Word. I like having a bunch of different files for everything, right? So a single character will have a single file, have a picture, a little blurb about them. I figured with like Microsoft Word, it's a lot harder to have those individual files. So I like using Scrivener because I can very quickly change between all of these different files. Top level folders on the left side, in case you're curious, we have the manuscript, which is all the content of your story. We have characters and places and notes and research for you to organize your planning however you want. And you can also add, change, modify, whatever you really want. The most important thing is this manuscript folder, because when you're telling Scrivener at the end of Novella November that now you want this to be a Kindle ebook, it's just a couple clicks away. And then you can just load it up on your Kindle and you have your story. It's that easy. It's really crazy. All right. I want to hear if anyone has any working titles for your novella. I want to hear, do you have anything planned? Doesn't have to be the final title, but I want to hear some titles in the chat. Oh, Liz saying there's a 30-day free trial for Scrivener. That's awesome. There is a affiliate Scrivener link in the Discord. Some of you are trying to subvert my automated message that tells you my affiliate link in the Discord. I see you. The Engineered Man. That's a cool title. Sketches from a Shadow. Big fan. Edge Queen. Sounds very cool. Cathedral of Trees. Big fan. A Sloth's Journey from Mr. Slothman themselves. Worn to Pieces. Whew. You can take that a bunch of different ways. That feels like it could be pretty dramatic. Catching the Attention of Blind Gods. That feels like some dark epic fantasy, but also could be literature. What's that book quote? And their eyes were watching God. Is that a thing? Is that I feel like there's a billboard of eyes looking somewhere. Bingo's Horror House. Is this that reminds me of like a Five Nights at Freddy's kind of thing. Lather. I'm interested in seeing where you go with that. Project Golden Boy. Okay. I like that random writer. Sort of a Philosopher. That'll be interesting. Lana. I like it. The Siege. You've piqued my interest. Daughter of the Machine. There's a lot of good titles here. I Am Title Challenged. Great title. Big fan. There are... I did this one thing. I think I was reading... who was it? I always forget this guy's name. One of these like classic American science fiction authors. one of his writing books. I can't remember who it was. And they said that one of the things that they would do for like, writing practice is they would come up with a huge list of just titles that interested them. And Ted, listen to me. I'm talking to you, Ted. Sometimes if you don't have an idea, put down a big old list of titles that just seem interesting to you. You don't have to know what that story would be about. This author would go through and put a big list of short story titles like The Basement or The Creeping Willow. Or they were mostly science fiction or horror short stories. But then they would just go through and like once a day, called out, once a day, they would like pick one of those titles if they were in this like writing sprint, trying to get stuff down, trying to stay writing, and just write whatever this story should be. What should The Creeping Willow as a short story be about? And that was sort of how they kind of inverted the process, coming up title first, rest of the story. So sometimes that can help too. Sometimes that can help. Well, I would love to share with you the story I am writing. I do have a little bit planned in my head. I'll go ahead and let's zoom this bad boy in. That a little bit better. I'll tell you a story upon careless gray hills. Upon careless gray hills. And now I didn't know that I had cultivated an author persona of writing cozy fantasy stories about like dogs. But I did. I can't remember who posted it in the Discord. They were like, I did not expect Carson to do a thriller, a crime thriller after a cozy fantasy talking dog book. Let me tell you about how this came to be, and maybe if there's someone who's still unsure about what they want to write about, this might help you come up with an idea. You know what? Here, I'll share this. Let me pull up Firefox over here. We're actually going to... Some of you might have seen this in the Discord about me talking about this, the inspiration for this story. Let me take you to Whittier, Alaska. Whittier, Alaska. Whittier, Alaska is a very unique place. And in one of my vacations with me and my wife to Alaska, can you guess where we went? We went to Whittier, right? And Whittier is very interesting for a couple reasons. First, you might see in some of these thumbnails, there is one apartment building in the entirety of Whittier. And every permanent resident and some people who only visit for vacations lives in that one apartment building. No other new construction is allowed, right? So the history behind it, and I'm remembering off the top of my head, you can look at the Wikipedia article to fact check me. But the history behind it is that I believe Whittier was sort of established as an army base, maybe following the very end of World War II, or maybe at the tail end of World War II. And so they built this apartment building, or this big building to house people who were working there. It's got a, you can see it here. It's got like a lot of boats, got like a little marina. And post-war, people are starting to live there. But this land, to my knowledge, and again, fact check me on the Wikipedia, is still owned by the U.S. government. And so they do not allow just anyone to come in here and just build a new property. And so there's about 270 residents, I think. There's plenty of people who come in through the warmer season in the summer, and they'll bring campers, and there's a campground for them to set up their trailer, their camper, do lots of fishing, experience the town. But for the most part, if you are a permanent resident, you live in this building. And there's no new construction happening to just build a new place. The Baggage Towers, I think. So there's also one other thing about Whittier. Hold on. One other thing about Whittier, Alaska, I got to share with you. And this is, you'll see why This, hold on. I feel like it's maybe not a good idea to bring up Google Maps on a live stream. That seems like a way to dox yourself. Let me go to a private window here. Oh my gosh. My God, he's already a pro. He's already not doxing himself. He can't be stopped. My God. All right. Let me tell you another thing about Whittier, Alaska. All right. Whittier, Alaska has one road into the town. That road goes through something like a mile of mountain. Let me see if I can bring up like a topography. This one tunnel goes through this entire mountain. And on top of that, that tunnel is shared by trains going through it and cars going through it. So what happens is they'll shut down car access through this tunnel for like 30 minutes as the train goes in and back out. And then they'll open it back up so cars can drive through there. And you know, when I'm on the train going through that tunnel, seeing the cars outside that tunnel, and I come poking out of the tunnel after a mile and a half or however long it is to Whittier, Alaska, and that building with all the residents, I immediately think, my God, there's a story here. Because as soon as that tunnel is inaccessible, there's no way in and there's no way out. That's the inspiration behind this. And so I've been here once before. It was in late summer. I think maybe it was early summer. There was still snow on the ground. We went hiking on glaciers. We did a wildlife tour. And the whole time I was thinking like, someone's got to get murdered here. I'm sorry. It's not me. It's not even real, but someone's gotta do it. So that was the inspiration. And so that was like 4 years ago. And for 4 years, I've kind of had this turning around in my brain of like, okay, I know what I want to write about. Whittier itself is named after a poet. John Whittier, maybe? So I looked at one of his poems and I found Upon Gray Hills. And I was like, you know what? Not foreboding enough. Not foreboding. Upon careless gray hills. Ooh. All right. So that's my short story. That's the inspiration. And what we're doing today is we're going to do some planning. Here's how this is going to work. And for the rest of the week, as we do these live streams, again, if you are kind of just joining us, the schedule for the live streams is in the Discord. You can go join over there. I'm dumb. I will post the schedule in the description for future live streams. I will get all the good information I need. I'm figuring it out. You know? So here's the deal. I'm going to plan this, and this is going to alternate between some focused planning time as well as some time for us to chat. So I want you to be able to start planning your novel as well. So I'm going to sort of kind of tell you what I'm about to do, encourage you to do something similar or just however you like to plan your stories. And then I'm going to give us 15 minutes to put our heads down, have lo-fi music on in the background, and just do this thing. I'll be turning my microphone off, and after that 15 minutes is up, we're going to reconvene. Almost on Act 3. Them's the breaks. And then we're going to reconvene, and this will be a chance to say like, hey, you know what? I have this plot. Maybe you have a question about plot. I have this plot. I feel really good about it. But like, I feel like Act 1, really strong. Act 3, great conclusion. But what the hell goes on in Act 2? And then that's when we talk. That's when we all in this chat can say like, you know what? Here's my secret to that middle 50% of your novel. Here's how I do it. Here's what I saw in this movie. Here's this great book that I read that talks about it. Here's a writing book you can check out. Here's this channel that we can check out. That's the idea. Liz, thank you for joining us. I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Let's go. Act 2. Yeah, we can definitely talk about some Act 2 stuff. Skipped it for now. That is the middle 50% of your book. You can't avoid it forever, unfortunately. Can't avoid it forever. So let me tell you how I'm going to start planning my story. You've heard me say this time and time again. Heard me say this time and time again. You do not sit down and plan your characters, and then plan your setting, and then plan your plot, and then decide your theme, and then start writing. Not how it works. Not how it works. You've heard me say it once. You've heard me say it 1,000 times. Everything kind of gets planned together. And if you disagree with that, I would love to hear your reasoning in the chat. If you firmly believe you sit down and you plan out a plot, and then you sit down and you figure out the characters, etc. I firmly believe that when you're planning a novel, every decision you make in one aspect, your setting, your characters, or your plot, is going to then influence who your characters are and what they're doing and the world that they're in. And it's like all this interconnected triangle. The very second video I ever did was called The Storytelling Triangle. And it says you can plot every single book based on its focus between plot, setting, and characters. And depending where you land, it kind of, I don't know, I can't remember what I said, but it was really motivational and insightful. Check it out. Okay. All right, so here's what I'm about to do. And I also need to make sure I understand how to run our timer. Millennium Storyteller says, I have a setting and a plot. I have a setting and plot first, and then I add characters to fix that plot. As a certified pantser, Carsolo says, I get a basic idea from my main character and wing it from there. Carsolo, is it always character first? I would love to hear. Let me get our timer going. Grab some text. Call this our timer. Source visible. Timer. Scared of my proto draft. They can be a little scary. Ethereal says, as a planner, I start with the world. They all evolve together after that. Interesting. So we're seeing a character specific approach, seeing a world specific approach. It's kind of interesting. See how I do this. Where's my timer? Oh my gosh, he's got a timer. He done did it. And yet he cannot make it go. Also, white text not working. Okay. He's cooking. Let him cook. Lila says, as a lover of world building, my fantasy stories come world, then starting event, then character. That's not a bad approach. I can dig it. I like that. Character and setting first. I usually start with a scene and then draft asking then what. That's from Coral Sands. You guys are chatty today. 59 says, I come up with a rough plot and a list of situations, then try and create characters who would struggle in those situations. Haha. Keyword there, struggle, right? We're talking about conflict, like that. Basic personality or concept of a character first. Get an idea for the direction of the plot, or get an idea. Okay. Mold the character to fix it. I get a character and setting first, and the main character's ultimate goal. That was from we. Start with a single cool ability and branch out there. Stray Bubble. I see ya, you mimic. As a lover of world building, my fantasy stories come world starting event character. Oh, Lilith, great point here. Some would even say that genre changes how you would plan your story. Today, and when I was doing the research for the script I was writing, Sanderson said, that's Brandon Sanderson, said that science fiction and fantasy are defined by their settings. They must have fantasy setting, science fiction setting. Without those things, they are not fantasy and science fiction. Meaning, those are very settings-driven, world-driven stories. There's something there. All right. I'll make this timer look better in the future. Mr. Slothman says, I think about fantasy, then I make a power system, then a world. Can be very successful. Some great writers do that. Karina says, I usually just start writing with no plan and my brain makes it up as I go. Then later on, I start planning. Hey, something to be said for being adjustable. Once we get to like the plot framework and starting writing as we're getting closer to Friday, that's a big thing I'll focus on here. Give yourself room to adjust. That's important. Your plot framework, your planning is not set in stone. You're going to figure out so much more about your characters and story. You know how it goes. All right, so here's the plan. We're about to do some planning. Hold on. We're about to do some planning. I'm going to give us 15 minutes. And in that 15 minutes, this will be dedicated time to do some planning. So this is something for a live stream. I wasn't quite sure if people were going to dig, but I see other big writing YouTubers do it. I know Abby Emmons does some like Friday Write With Me streams, and I feel like they can be really useful. So we're going to try it out. I'm going to turn up our lo-fi music just a tad. I'm going to leave my screen sharing so you can sort of see me doing some work here. Feel free to keep chatting in the YouTube chat if you are so inclined. And after 15 minutes, I'm going to sort of share with you some of the things I uncovered in my planning stage. And if you have something you're excited about, I would love to hear about it. Any questions on planning before we get started? Is there anyone who's already stuck? Already stuck when it comes to planning? Ted, how are we doing? If you're still here, Ted, have you come up with any titles or potential story ideas? Let me know. Call it out. Not yet. I'm sorry to hear that. I know you've been bouncing around a couple different ideas in the Discord. Maybe one of those deserves to be a novella this month. And the other ones can still be your main focus. That's what I'm doing. This is a story that's been off on the back burner for me for a while. And I figured, you know what? I think there's plenty of other stories that I want to dedicate more time and more focus to, but I still want to tell this one. So I said, that's the story I'm going to write for Novella November. I want to create something really cool. I want to be involved in the process. I want to learn. And then I want to share it with the world. Margot says, my outline is already open. I think that is a great point for us to just put the rubber to the road. And what do you say we start our 15 minutes of planning right now? Good luck, everyone. All we're saying, 15 minutes, focusing on trying to figure out what's going to happen in your story. I know I have Whittier as my setting. I'm going to be less focused personally on discovering the setting and more about what's going to happen in this crime thriller. Who's getting murdered? Who's doing it? Good luck, everyone. We got this. 15 minutes. I'll see you after. Good luck. Hello, everyone. Time is up. 15 minutes. Went by just like that. Just like that. How are we doing? Did we get some good planning done? Let me tell you what I got. So right now, I think I'm laying a lot of the groundwork. I know, 15 minutes went by fast. 300 words. Let's go. Not bad. Not bad. So here's the thing. There are two kinds of planning. Two kinds of planning, guys. There is active planning, which is what we're doing. And there is passive planning. I personally am very much a passive planner. I like to mull over my story as I'm doing other things. 450 words. Let's go, Ethereal. 7 chapters. Margaret did 7 chapters. Kidding. Oh, man. Not bad, not bad. Did some brainstorming on world building, sci-fi planet. See, here's the thing. There's active planning, there's passive planning. Some people are really good at one. Some people are really good at the other. Sometimes you do both, you know, however you want. Active planning is sitting down and saying, I am going to brain blast and plan my story. I'm more of a passive planner. I like to be just sort of thinking over my story. Maybe, you know, in the summer I was out there watering my garden, thinking about like talking dogs. Hey, you know, and if the dogs lived on a farm, what would they say? They talk to the animals? And then boom, wrote a book about it, right? That's passive planning as I'm doing other things. That's where you like, you know what I'm talking about? That's where you like, you know, you're struck by an idea that changes everything. Active planning doesn't often feel like you're doing that sort of like, boom, here's the thing, brain blast, here's the big moment, right? So if you're doing active planning like we are right now, and you don't feel like you're making a lot of progress, you are still thinking about your story. Margot, thanks for joining us. Thank you, thank you. Who else visited Pinterest in the last 15 minutes? You have a problem. I'm just kidding. You don't have, you might have a problem. And then, so yeah, I'm more of a passive planner, but while you're sitting down here doing active planning, you are solidifying details that can help you when you're thinking about your story elsewhere. And when you're thinking about your story elsewhere, you can start to sort of, those bigger ideas take shape that you can bring back here and make them concrete. So, active planning, here's what I did. I'll give you a little rundown of the kind of progress I made here. A lot of this was kind of setting the groundwork, right? I just started, I don't know how well you guys can actually see the words on my screen, but I just started writing down some of the base, like the opening image for my plot. But a lot of what I did was like over here, this is the, let's see if I can make this bigger. Hard style. But the font size don't. Basically, I'm laying the groundwork for just the idea of like, you know what? I know I'm gonna have these different kind of locations. I know that I'm gonna have these kind of characters, and I'm throwing down some temporary kind of names, just so I can get past this stage. And then as I kind of figure out the role that all my different characters are gonna play, I'm gonna be able to solidify details. Some of the passive planning that I've done beforehand has made this part easier. I know, and here's also, if you want some fun planning motivation, I highly recommend you study material that's tangential to what you're writing. Last night, I watched the movie Fargo because I'm like, hey, I'm about to write about a small town. If I'm about to write about a small town, I should see how other people portray small towns. One of the big themes I settled on in that movie, and same thing I know kind of going into this, is the idea of us versus them. And I see this even in my own small town. The idea that here we are, the permanent residents, versus them, the tourists that come in through the summer. And in Whittier, Alaska, those people who come in through the tunnel to go on a wildlife cruise over the next couple hours, and then they hop back on their train and they're out of here. There's us, the permanent residents, there's them, everyone else. And at least in my town, here's something I've kind of figured out. And if anyone here lives in a small town, I want to hear your opinion too. Do we have any small town people here? Maybe you grew up in a small town. Maybe you live now in a small town. Any small town people? I grew up in just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And so the town itself felt really small, but we were always 45 minutes away from Atlanta, you know? And so I don't know if I would ever say that where I lived growing up was a small town, definitely compared to Atlanta, but it was so close to a big city that it didn't have that small town kind of vibe, right? Got a couple different people who live in the middle of nowhere, live in a small town. I live in a place where the population is less than 1,000. In fact, it's way less than 1,000 people. And something I've noticed is that the residents of the town I live in often talk about the people who come visit in the summer and the nice weather of Wisconsin as like they're coming here to use our stuff, and then they leave when the living gets hard. So I don't know if other small towns, so I don't know if this is more of a small town thing or if this is a small town with some kind of tourist attraction kind of thing. Yeah, small town, but not a tourist one. But that is a very specific sort of, a very specific viewpoint on life that I didn't experience until I got here. People talking about, oh yeah, they just come in from this place and stay in this cabin over the summer, and then hey, they're going back home when the snow starts coming down because it's too hard to plow your driveway. That's for real the kind of stuff that people say. My town has a small tourist caves. That's kind of cool. I can breathe in a small town. Is that a song? That's a song. Grew up in the Adirondacks. Camping's popular, very common. Okay, so this was kind of like the viewpoint of where I was like, this is something I experienced in this little town that I live in, is that I would imagine that's still kind of seen that way in this little Whittier, Alaska town. So as I'm planning this, I'm kind of keeping that theme in mind. I don't often go into writing a story with some kind of theme, but the more I thought about this little Whittier, Alaska story, the more I was like, you know what, that us versus them, the permanent residents, the people coming in from the outside, became kind of something I wanted to settle on. And so that, I'm not going to talk about it yet, but that brings up all my ideas for what the actual crime and sort of inciting incident is for my story. Going to be something like that. Yeah, small towns are interesting. Small towns very interesting. So in my planning, I put down, I couldn't even come up really with a name for my main character, but instead of just getting completely stalled out, completely just saying like, oh, I don't know what to do, I just put down MC as the main character, jotted down what little ideas that I had about them, and then moved on. In my book, when I was doing research 4 years ago, after running into this sort of like idea, I was doing some Googling, and I was like, what kind of like police force is Whittier, Alaska gonna have? Right? It's 200 permanent residents. How many cops would there be? Would there be cops? And so did some research, and what I discovered, and what has now become sort of one of the driving things in my story, is that there is a very small police group there. There's like a sheriff and like a deputy and whatever. I don't know exactly how many there are, but because the tourist season, which runs seasonally, brings a lot more people through the town, they actually bring in essentially seasonal police. So my main character is actually coming into this town as this sort of seasonal police role, which I thought was quite interesting. Hello, Katie. Welcome. Welcome. Hello. 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 And that's going to be just another place where I could reinforce the us versus them kind of trope. Here's this police officer that's potentially going to tell people what to do. He's not a permanent resident. He's just here for the season, right? Kind of reinforcing that same theme. I knew I had to have a sheriff, and then I'd put down here a mayor. Just dice justice. Just dice justice. I knew I had to have a mayor for this town. In fact, I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think the mayor, or whoever is the voted leader for Whittier, Alaska, is the only person who maybe doesn't live in the Baggage Towers. They have an actual house. Us versus them. What? It keeps coming back. What? So I jotted those down, and I already know I have an idea about sort of who the killer is going to be, what their motivations are. So I just chose some names there. And put those down. Now, are any of these things final? God, no. God, no. But I can make decisions now so that I can keep playing. That's another big tip here, right? Another big tip. And then after putting a couple placeholder things down, here's just like the names of the different places. Let's put this in. There we go. I also started on maybe the most important part of planning for me, which is just the plot dump. Just kind of like letting the brain vomit out whatever ideas come to mind. I have an idea for an opening image, and so that's going to be kind of specific in my little plot dump here. But then things are going to get very abstract, very like the pacing's going to move a lot faster because I don't have all the details planned. But this is going to be, here's specifically the most important part about this for me when it comes to the plot dump is getting to the inciting incident, because that's kind of going to be, I think most good books have all of the important characters kind of out there by the inciting incident, especially for a standalone. Don't come at me with the Wheel of Time does this. Yeah, the Wheel of Time's got 16 books to work with, okay? I'm writing a standalone crime thriller. What are the motivations of a killer clown? Karina asks. Is there a joke here? Chaos, right? It's just chaos. Hunger depends on the clown. He wants his victims to die laughing. Make people laugh. Isn't there a movie? Hold on. Isn't there just a... What's the killer clown movie that's out right now? Hold on. Who's this guy? About to bring... No. There's a trendy movie happening right now. It's called Scary Clown Netflix movie. Terrifier. Is there anyone here scared of clowns? I need to know quickly. I need to know right now. His jokes never landed, but his acts will. Shout out. Okay. You know what? I won't do this to anyone. I won't expose you to the Terrifier series of Netflix. Google it if you dare. If you dare. Terrifier. Calrophobia? Killer clowns. Wow. Anyone remember, what was it? Was it 2018, 2016 in the US when all of a sudden there were killer clowns around? Remember those good old days? When we had no other problems except clowns out in the dark? What year was that? Someone figure out what year was what year was the clown year? If you're not in the US, then you probably don't know what I'm talking about. But there was a period of time where clowns were out and about at night. The good old days. Shout out. Hey, shout out to my clowns out there. Looks like we made some good progress on our planning. At some point, I actually need to write down exactly how my crime happened in my story. I'll probably do that off stream. How you decide how many chapters and how long each chapter to be? Oh, Katie. You just unlocked the secret daily double. Let me tell you about chapters. For those who don't know, because the video is not out yet, there is a video on chapters coming out in the next couple weeks. Let me tell you what I did. You're gonna like this. You're gonna like this one. See if I still have the books in here. See, there are some rules about chapters. That is the rule of thumb. The guideline. Don't look at this yet. Don't look at that. Let me tell you about chapters. First off, how many chapters? There's no really definite answer there. Some people don't even use chapters. Those people are wrong. They're wrong. Use chapters. So here's the deal. If you're going to follow a plot framework to the T, let's say you have something like Save the Cat. Save the Cat's going to be like, here's a chapter for every major story beat. There's all your chapters. Maybe you're going to go with something like the Story Grid, which is going to say like, here's your 50 chapter story. Here's when your inciting incident should happen. Here's when this thing should happen. Here's when that thing should happen. Look, a lot of these things are kind of like based off the idea of like screenplays, where like in movies, you got like a very specific kind of approach. Hold on, let me put down color source. Things might get a little crazy here. Chat background. Let's bring out the beautiful chat. Flash bomb. Hold on. Sorry. You understand. Let's see if I can. Let's make this a little duller. All right, so here's the deal. These plot frameworks would say, here's how many big scene beats you have. Here's how many chapters you would have. But let's talk about chapter length, because there's a disconnect between how many chapters you should have and what the big publishers, #big publishers, are telling you should do. The closer you get to the big publisher lists, the closer you get to a general audience kind of book, the shorter the chapters get. Over here, we got, let's go to Carson Big Zoom. Over here, we got Stephen Erickson, book 4 of Malazan, Book of the Fallen, 1,200 pages, epic fantasy, right? This book, here's what I did. For the video, I took chapter 8 and 9 of Malazan, Book of the Fallen, of a romance book, Emily Henry's Books to Lovers, of Sarah J. Maas, A Court of Silver Flames, of this random Michael Crichton adventure book called Easy Go, and I got the rough word count for chapters 8 and chapter 9 of all of these books. House of Chains, epic fantasy. Not written for a general audience, written for people who love epic fantasy and want the most hardcore, crazy epic fantasy they can get. Chapter 8, 9,000 words. Chapter 9, 12,000 words maybe, 12,500, something along those lines. Epic fantasy, okay. Well, what if we take something like Romantasy and look at chapters 8 and 9 of that one? I'll tell you right now. A Court of Silver Flames has a total of 80 chapters. And each chapter in here ranges from about 2,500 words to some shorter chapters like 1,250 words. A little bit more bite size, more of a general audience kind of book. What about if we get to like Emily Henry, this romance book for books to lovers? We're breaking out of fantasy. Now we get, oh, here we go. I opened right up to it. Chapter 8, right there. 1 page, 2 page, 3 page, chapter 9. I counted pages. I mean, they're double-sided, but like, the more you get to a general audience kind of book, the shorter the chapters get. Rule of thumb, and I do believe this, rule of thumb is if you can, try to shoot for about 2,000 words in a chapter. You can go shorter, you can go over, especially depending on what's happening in the book at the time. But 2,000 words, Sean Coyne in the story grid. Sean Coyne in the story grid says those are bite-sized enough that a reader who's about to go to bed can flip ahead and say, you know what? I can read one more chapter. Call it like popcorn chapter. What do they call it? They call it something like the bite-sized potato chip chapters. 2,000 words, short enough to read one more chapter before bed. That's the big publisher rule of thumb. Shoot for chapters roughly around there. Go over, go under. Shoot for an average of 2,000 words a chapter. Popcorn chip chapters. What did I do? Oh, what the heck? You see this? What is this book? This is dumb. Starlight Farms Kindle for Talking Dogs. This is my book. Let me tell you about this. I got some chapters here that are 6,000 words. And I got some chapters that don't even stretch to the next page. Kind of depends on you. Got a 7,000 word chapter. Got a 450 word chapter. If I gave this to an editor, they would tell me to fix that. But I am the captain. What's the poem? I am the captain of my fate. The captain of my soul. That can't be right. No way Walt Whitman would say that. So 2,000 words is a good starting point. And then based on what's happening in your story, you can overshoot for a big cool event that you want to feel like it's really grasping the reader. And you can undershoot that if you just got to get to the next thing. There's my idea. How many chapters should you have? Kind of up to you. It's kind of based on how you organize your story. The way that I look at it is if your story is more combined of a bunch of shorter narrative threads, a bunch of shorter narrative scenes, then you're probably going to have either more chapters or more scene breaks. Check out the video in the next week or two for that. Scene breaks. I brought out that Malazan Book of the Fallen specifically, so I'm in the like the tail end of that series. Each book's like 1,300 words. Hardest book series I've ever had to read. But there is one chapter in book 6, House of Bones. Is that what it's called? House of Chains? Something like that. The chapter itself is over 100 pages. They call it the chapter. When you get to that book, you hear about the chapter. Lilith says, I heard that the first chapter should be shorter so the pace of the beginning leads the reader getting deep in the story quickly. I think there could be some truth behind that. But I also think that's kind of going to be something based on the genre of your story. When it comes to the genre of your story, when you have like a pulp fiction kind of thriller, like that's going to be like the James Pattersons, the John Grishams, like They're usually either going to start with some sort of action prologue or getting you immediately to a point where you ask questions. And that doesn't mean you have to have short chapters at that point. It just means you need to know where to start your story. Like, for example, right now in my plot dump, my story starts as our main character is rolling in on this train full of tourists. They're going to go off to this wildlife cruise, and our main character is going to get out and meet who's going to be their friend in the story, the deputy, who's going to take them, tell them about town. Let's go meet the mayor. When I am trying to write my story, I want to get as many of the main characters involved as possible. That's important to me. Princess Bride, a key movie. I'm talking about the movie. Princess Bride introduces every main character, I think, in the first 5 minutes of the movie. And I really respect that. I try to do things like that as well. Hard for me to continuously write on a project without a detailed plan. Still struggling with attaching events to chapters. Hey, that's what planning's for. As you do more sort of like getting characters in the planning stage and kind of like getting these blurry visions of kind of what you want this story to be, everything's going to start to take a little bit more shape. All of those blurry edges are going to get a little bit more refined. And the more effort you put into that, the quicker that's going to happen, and the sooner you're going to have at least a crisper initial vision of what your story is going to be. Once you actually start writing and like solidifying things down and uncovering your characters and the setting and the plots, it starts to, in my opinion, it starts to take on like a life of its own. When I write, at some point I am like, what's the word? At some point I am like just an audience member. I don't know if anyone else is like that. I'm uncovering the story along with the reader. Kind of crazy. It's like watching a movie in your head. Most of my chapters, not in my short story, but in my current novel, are about 2,000 words without even thinking about it. How about that? It's almost like you've been trained by #big publishers to think that that's the normal chapter length. Oh my God, they've gotten to, was that Katie? Oh my God, they got into Karina. We lost another one. We lost another 100 chapter potential writer. 100 page chapter. Coral says, yep, it's like I'm watching a movie. Everyone's going to be different. I've recently found out that not everyone processes imagery and detail in their head in the same way. This is going to sound crazy. Highly recommend you do research on this. Just if you're interested in looking for something, you're doom scrolling late at night, might as well Google this and learn something. That's what I do. There's people who have different levels of like this ability to imagine in their head. Aphantasia. Visualization detail without flickering. So here's the interesting thing. If I tell you to picture an apple, to think about an apple in your head, maybe there are some people here who have that level of visualization in their head that they can see apple, the little stem and the little green leaf at the top. Me, I don't see that, but I can very easily feel the weight of like holding an apple in my hand. I can very easily picture the flavor, kind of get that sense of the flavor of an apple, the crispiness of a honey crisp apple, the best kind of apple, mind you. The best kind of apple. Other people are going to, when they think of an apple, really focus on the color red, and that's easier for them to visualize. I don't know, there's lots of different levels of imagery and imagination. It's really interesting. All right, you know what? Let's do one more planning sprint so we can have 30 minutes of active planning by the end of the live stream. And so we got 15 more minutes of planning. And here's the deal. Here's what I'm doing. I'm going through the plot dump. As I go through the plot dump, sort of naturally figuring out what should happen next, I'm not thinking like, here's the inciting incident. Here is the The point where our characters say, no, we don't want to go on that journey. And here's where they resign to going. I'm not thinking about anything like that at all. I am simply typing out in the next sentence what the next thing should be. What right now, the last thing I have on here, at the inn, Jonah introduces Chris to the inn owner and the mayor. What's going to be the outcome of that conversation? That's where my next sentence is going to be for this plot dump, and I'm just going to keep following that thread. That's what I'm doing in my next planning sprint. Maybe as I'm doing this plot dump, here's the big thing. I'm going to uncover more characters. Granny Smiths? What's happening in chat? Get out of my chat. What the heck? Is Granny Smith the green apple? Look, if you're not Team Honeycrisp, you're dead to me. This is insane. Who's that? Corals. Oh, no. Oh. Pink Lady? Honeycrisp? Where are my Pink Lady fans? Y'all crazy. The only apples I like are the ones that get turned into alcohol. Galactic Cat knows what's up. Honeycrisp. All right. You know what? We need an objective opinion on this. Let me show you something cool. There is a website, and I'm so happy the Team Granny Smith brought this up because I am such a big Apple fan. I know about applerankings.com, okay? I know about Apple Rankings. Sitting over here talking about Granny Smith. Where do you think Granny Smith's gonna be on applerankings.com? I'm about to blow your mind. Because I know exactly where Honeycrisp fall. Okay? Look. Honeycrisp apple, 95, nearly perfect. Read them and weep. Read them and weep. Okay? Nearly perfect. Number 4, ranked baking apple. You gonna sit there saying Granny Smith? Kidding me? You don't even know what you walked into. Welcome to hell. I'm not stuck in here with you. You're stuck here with me. All right, I need to cool down. Look. Categories. Baking apples. Granny Smith. Barely worth it. Barely. Like, probably not even worth it. And yet, Honeycrisp. How were apples ranked? Glad you asked. Butter Jupiter, glad you asked. The 100-point scale. We're chasing the 100-point fabled immaculate apple. My God. I'm in here with a bunch of amateurs showing them the keys to the kingdom. My God. Who's talking about apples to alcohol? It sounds like you're a fan of Gold Rush. Also, what kind of ranking is this? 80? Sugar Bee fans in the chat, +2s in chat if you're a Sugar Bee fan. Cosmic Crisp, where are we at? 74, garbage. Oh my God, Honeycrisp is ranked number 2. Are you kidding me? Number 2? It doesn't matter what Pink Lady is gonna be. It's not number 2. Pink Lady. Probably number 8 or 9. Number 6. It's okay. Pink Lady's okay. Cosmic Crisp not even making it into the top. God, Cosmic Crisp top of average, which is still average. Look, don't even get at me with Honeycrisp. Sweet Tango. I don't know about this one. Anyone? No one's seen a Sweet Tango in the wild. I agree. Cosmic Crisp, you go into it thinking it's going to be a nice crispy apple. You come out of it thinking, who bamboozled me? What a misnomer. Holy moly. Whoa, hold up. Everyone, hold on. If this was the apple that tempted Eve in the Garden of Eden, I wouldn't blame her. For the taste of just one sweet tango was worth living through 1,000 painful childbirths. We've gone too far. You thought I was apple crazy? You hear this? You hear this, person? You thought I was the problem? Macintosh apples are ranked as horse food. You know what? Not surprised. Where's Macintosh? Look, if you're still out there eating Macintosh apples, wake up. Get a Honeycrisp. It's not even, don't even eat fruit. Clearly you got your taste buds all crisscrossed. Crisscrossed applesauce. Thank you. Oh man. All right. Well, I'm glad I could show you applerankings.com. Don't you ever play with me again. Don't you ever. All right, here's the deal. We're going to do another 15 minutes of planning. I want you to focus on your stuff, focus on characters, plot, setting, and if you feel like you're hitting a brick wall, try a plot dump. Try a plot dump. Just sit down, write the opening image of your plot. How is your whole story going to start? If you can't do that, then you need to take a step back and look at things more abstract. A little bit more abstract. What kind of story are you trying to tell? I'm on the plot dump stage. I'm probably going to get to the inciting incident, meeting all the different guys worked up with these dang Macintosh lovers. Your horses. Got horses in the chat. No wonder. I'm going to try to get to the inciting incident. Shouldn't take too long. I kind of want this to be a story where you hit the ground running, you have a lot of fun. And then I know that I'm also going to have a romantic subplot in this story. And what does that mean? It means that as I get to figuring out more of the character journeys, I'm going to a romantic subplot plot framework. My God. It exists, called Romancing the Beat. And I'm going to put that in here as a side journey. So that's the deal. Ethereal says, make a poll on the server. Ban everyone who doesn't say Honeycrisp. Tempted. That's when I knew she was the one. Look, I'm tempted. You got me worked up about the dang apples. We're here for a purpose, and that purpose is to plan our books. 15 minutes on the clock. Head down, do some work. I will see you guys in 15 minutes. Lo-fi music going up on a Tuesday. And I will see you guys after the 15. Car solo? Maybe, you know, depending on where you're at, it could be harder to find. They're definitely more expensive. I'll tell you that. All right. Stop talking about apples. All right, see you guys in 15. All right, everyone. The last planning sprint. Not bad, not bad. How's everyone doing? What'd you guys get done? I was working on my plot dump, and then I kind of hit a brick wall where I was like, okay, well, like I know this is where I want these characters to meet, but I don't know what happens right after that. And so I switched over to start writing about the crime and all the history that's going to go into what will eventually be the murder. Katie asks, can you explain how you are plot dumping? I'm curious because it seems like you're summarizing the story. That is exactly it. I consider a plot dump as just like letting my heart write. You know, I'm just kind of like saying I don't know much about the details. Maybe I have a lot of those details like hidden somewhere in the noggin. And instead of sitting here being like, all right, let me try to pull out all the details about these specific characters or this specific world or this specific plot. Plot dumping is just letting me write whatever feels like should start happening, right? So I'm in here typing and I'm just saying, look, I don't know all the definite stuff, but I'm going to start writing with like, okay, here's how I think the novel should kind of start. And that plot dumping is going to lead me to the characters and lead me to the world and lead me to the interactions. And it's just putting something down on paper to start. So plot dumping is just trying to lower all of your inhibitions about everything and just kind of letting your subconscious get stuff down. Homielander says, my brain finally decided to lock in and start plot dumping. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Carsola wrote approximately 100 words. Nice, nice. Ethereal got around 400 words. Let's go. Millennium Storyteller, another 250 words. Karina's brain is braining right now. Glad to hear that. Is braining confirmed. Plot dumping, extremely useful tool. How do you recommend plot dumping if you're a visual thinker / organizer? Some writers, especially I think specifically Michael Crichton of Jurassic Park fame, what he would do is he would take note cards and he would start to put down like his kind of like plot ideas. And then he would put the note cards down in order that they might happen. And he liked looking at the note cards visually because he could then pick them up and start shuffling them around. Maybe these characters shouldn't meet yet. Maybe they should meet much later in the story after this thing happened. Maybe we don't want everything to go wrong at this point. Maybe we need to establish more character stuff and have everything go wrong later. That's one potential way you could do a sort of brain dump if you're a visual person. Also, as someone who considers themselves visual, but I think maybe not so much as other people, the more I experience of what other people claim as like their visual kind of thing, it may be that your plot dump comes later. Maybe the first thing you need to do is to make a mood board, which is something that I plan on doing in the next couple planning sessions. Mood boards, great for visual writers, especially when it comes to things like detail. Trying to pick out detail in that vision that you have in your head is a lot more helpful when you've gathered a bunch of images that inspire you to picture that thing even more clearly. Kay says, I already do have a mood board. Oh, that's so awesome. You know, you should share if you feel comfortable with sharing. In the Discord, you should make a post in our Novella November story workshop and show what your mood board looks like. I bet there's other people who want to see more mood boards to inspire them to try it out. That would be awesome. Imagine how much I could write if I was on Adderall. No performance enhancing drugs here. I get lost on Pinterest doing mood boards. The dangerous side of the mood board. I get it. Here's the interesting thing. So I'm writing like this crime, right? This mystery crime. Technically, I think the trope would be amateur detective. That kind of what I'm about to show you guys something really cool. I sometimes talk about these in my videos. I'm a big fan of the website tvtropes.org. This might help you in your planning. Let me pull up some tvtropes.org. TV tropes. For those who don't know about tvtropes.org, this is a website I swear by. Big fan of this one. Something I like to do is to do research on my genre and on other stories that I am inspired by. And TV tropes is a way to explore these specific moments within the stories that you like that are maybe can help you understand why they happen. So like, for example, I just watched the movie Fargo to prepare for this small town thing. So I'll search up Fargo, and here's the film of Fargo. Imagine this like Wikipedia. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit here. Imagine this like Wikipedia, but specifically about story and narrative elements. I recommend off stream, right? When we're done doing all this, maybe you're bored one day, maybe you're taking a little break from your plot dumping or your planning, to go explore TV tropes of your genre and of other media that inspires you, whether it's in the same genre or not. But for example, Fargo is a story about small town in Minnesota. And so we have some like very Wikipedia things here, which is just like, hey, here's who's in this movie. Here's the plot synopsis. But if I scroll down, we get to this film contains examples of the following tropes. And I can scroll through here and I can picture, okay, there was this really cool moment in the movie that I liked when it was, here's this character alone with the killer. What's that like feeling like? That feeling of like, I know I'm here with someone dangerous. Here's a trope called Alone with the Psycho. And if I wanted to, I could click on this and it would take me to another page discussing this trope, other examples of it, tangential ideas that could potentially inspire something that you might want to do in your story. Including other examples. So if I go to films live action, I can find other movies where someone is alone with the killer. So I like doing this kind of things. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. Yeah, big fan. So like, if you are trying to do your planning, and especially if you're inspired by a couple specific things, check out TV tropes. This is something that I do pretty often just because I'm like really interested in tropes. Most of these are going to be specific kind of things. Like, here is, what would be a good example? Big guy, little guy. Here's a trope. And this has our two bad guys in Fargo. One is a big guy, and the other one, get this, a little guy. Right? That's a trope that you might see in other movies. Maybe that's something I liked about Fargo, and I would want to include that in my story somehow. Black and white morality, a bittersweet ending. Lots of things like that. So this would be a pretty fun thing to explore. Big fan. Let me tell you about what I'm planning on doing in my next steps of planning my story. The next things I'm going to do, I'm going to further Ethereal. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great rest of the night. What I'm going to be doing next, I'm probably going to put together a mood board of my own off stream. Share it with you guys next time we're all together. Tomorrow I'm live streaming specifically for our friends across the pond over in Europe and in Australia and other time zones, where hopefully we're going to sit down and have just as great of a time planning. I'm going to try to get through my plot dump. I'm going to start working some detail into a plot framework. I'm going to solidify the crime, because specifically in my genre, I need to know a lot of details about what clues clues are left behind for the crime, how they can be uncovered, where they're at, how does the killer try to cover up his crime, things like that. And I think that's going to help me when I'm putting down my sort of plot dump. This is not my plot framework. At a later point, I will take the details that I have, which I probably won't have everything, and I'll start sort of corralling them into an order based on probably a couple different plot frameworks. So I'll show you how we can do that. Something I really like doing is casting my characters. So maybe next time you see me, I might have pictures with all of my different characters, and because that always helps me kind of create more unique, distinctive characters. Same thing with my places. I'll probably throw up some pictures and some short descriptions in the places and some important events that are supposed to happen there. And that's what I'm doing next in my planning. A lot of my planning is probably going to be passive planning. We talked about that before. And that'll help me when I come back here to put down something on my plot dump. I'll have a little bit better understanding of the kind of story that I wanted to. So that's what I'm doing next. If you are here and you are in the Discord and you had some sort of epiphany or you made progress today, I highly recommend that you share it in our Novella November section of the Discord. And if you had a good time, let people know. The more people we get over here planning and eventually writing in Novella November, the better. So that's the idea. That's the plan. That's what's happening next. I will lastly open this up for any questions that you guys have about what you need to do next, what's a good way to approach X, Y, and Z. But then otherwise, we're winding down. That's what's happening. Everyone looking good? Feeling good? All right. Then I think it is time to wrap everything. So everyone, thank you so much for being here. It was a lot of fun. I can't wait for the next one. You've seen the schedule. You've seen it on the Discord. I will be here doing this for 10 hours a week. You know where to find me. Thank you so much. Later, Gators 59. Thanks for joining us, making it so much fun. Thanks for providing a space for me to write with the community. Katie, thanks for joining us. This community is nothing without the community. You know what I'm saying? It'll be more productive the better I get at keeping us on track. And the less you guys talk about crappy apple varieties when we could all just be eating Honey Crisps. And I think that's a great place to end it. Take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your night. Talk to you later.